Wasn't that little yellow bird cute, doing his little tap dance on the keyboard? That's our parakeet, Scupper. He's a lot of fun. We enjoy birds around here. And today, our book is called Birds. It's written by Kevin Henkes, and it's illustrated by Laura Dronzek. In the morning, I hear birds singing through the open window. Birds can be yellow, or blue, or brown, or red, or even green, I think. Sometimes they are so black that you can't see their eyes or their feathers, just their shape. Birds can be big or little, or any size in between. Do you recognize this bird? Where do we see that bird? At the beach? Maybe even on the playground at school. Those are seagulls, aren't they? Once I saw 7 birds on the telephone wire. They didn't move. And they didn't move. And they didn't move. I looked away for just a second, and they were gone. If birds made marks with their tail feathers when they flew, think what the sky would look like. If clouds were birds, the sky would look like this, or this. Sometimes in winter, a bird in a tree looks like one red leaf left over. Do you see the bird? If there are lots of birds in one tree and they all fly away at the same time, it looks like the tree yelled, "Surprise!" If I were a bird, I'd ask where all the other birds go when it's stormy and they can't get home to their nests. Where do they go? Do you see birds when it's raining outside? I like to pretend I'm a bird. I can't really fly, but I can do this. I can sing. Birds are so beautiful and so interesting and so clever. We noticed a bird in our book that's very tiny. Have you seen those around lately? In the springtime we see them a lot outside. They have a very long beak. Do you know what that bird is called? It's a hummingbird, that's right. And I thought it would be fun to learn a little bit about hummingbirds today. One thing that I thought you might enjoy seeing is a hummingbird's nest. Look closely at that nest. It's very tiny, isn't it? And it's very skillfully made by the mother bird. Got to wondering, how do they make these? What do they make them out of? So I looked for some books I had about birds and nests, and one book is about building nests, and it shares this information. Most birds build nests. They make their nests out of things they find around them. In fact, once my students and I were walking back into the classroom after lunch recess, and we looked up, and there was a nest above the door of the classroom, which had been there for a while. But we knew the mother bird had been adding to the nest because this is what we saw hanging down from the nest. Can you see that? What is that? That's right, it's a tag from a tea bag. And in the nest must have been the tea bag. So my students rushed to their desks and they drew pictures to show me what they thought was going on inside of the nest. Some of them thought maybe there was a tea party going on in there. So I did a little more reading in a book called Birds, Nests, and Eggs. That sounded like a good title for the information I was looking for. And I wondered if it might talk about hummingbirds in particular. So I searched in the table of contents, and sure enough, on page 18, it's going to tell me something about ruby-throated hummingbirds. They call it ruby-throated because it's red like a ruby on the chest or the throat. Page 18. Look what we've got here. A whole section on ruby-throated hummingbirds. There's a title for that section, and there are headings for each of these parts that will tell us about the bird, the nest, and the egg, the ruby-throated hummingbird. Let's read a little bit about the bird. This tells me that the hummingbird weighs no more than a penny. It's only about 3.5 inches long, and yet this tiny flying jewel can attack other much bigger birds who are flying too close to its nest and win the battle. It can outfly any bird and fly in any direction, even backward and upside down at the same time. And hummingbirds are fast flyers. Their average speed is 30 miles per hour. Ruby-throated hummingbirds have shiny green heads, backs, and tails, and gray-white chests. Only the male has the brilliant, glittering, ruby-red throat that gives this hummingbird its name. Look for hummingbirds beginning in May. That's the month we're in right now, when their favorite flowers start to bloom. They sip nectar and snack on small insects around them. They like red flowers best, especially tube-shaped flowers like honeysuckle, morning glory, petunias, and lilacs. Okay, now let's learn about their nest. That's what I was really interested in. A hummingbird nest is the size of half of a golf ball, very small. Look for its nests in apple, maple, oak, or pine trees. Nests are built in May or June, so right now they're out there building their nests, perhaps as high up as 60 feet. But they can be down low as well, like this nest, which was right outside the front door of my friend's house. And when the bird was completely done using the nest, she broke this little branch off for me. The female hummingbird builds it with plant fuzz, lichens, and bark. The whole thing is held together with spider web. Now, let's learn about their eggs a little bit. Hummingbirds lay only 2 eggs. They're white and they're smaller than a dime. Females sit on them for 14 to 16 days. The tiny birds begin to fly between 22 and 24 days after hatching. I have friends who have something very fascinating going on in their patio. In their patio is a string of lights. Look what was built on that string of lights. Is that amazing? This mother hummingbird found a secure spot on this wire and wove her nest into it. And sure enough, if you look closely, you see the spider web wrapped around the nest, just like the book told us. The mother has been taking care of her babies, and they're growing. She keeps coming back to the nest with food for them. And you can see here how she uses her long beak to put the food down inside of each of the 2 chicks. So they're getting everything they need, and they're growing, and maybe in another couple of weeks they're going to be ready to fly. Well, I hope you enjoyed learning about birds, especially the hummingbird and its nests. And maybe that's what you can look at this week if you go for a walk. I have a feeling that right about this time of year, May and coming up on June, you're going to be seeing a lot more birds out, and maybe you'll even spot a bird's nest. I hope you get a chance to go take a peek, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.